We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, and there's actually some breaking news as of literally 5 minutes ago. Pedro Porro, we heard the news earlier today anyway with Fabrizio Romano saying that Pedro Porro has signed a new contract. Well, Spurs have just announced it as well. We are delighted to announce that Pedro Porro has signed a new long-term contract with the club. Congratulations, Pedro. And now his contract runs out in 2031, which is the longest contract at the club at this present date, with a few other players as well.
And an option for a further year.
Is there an option for a further year as well? That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And there's a big statement on the website saying one of our leaders, Pedro, made 47 appearances in all competitions last season, most in the squad, and was particularly impressive for Roberto De Zerbi's 7 matches in the crucial final weeks of the campaign. That took that flying fullback's tally to 152 appearances since arriving in January 23, and he has been a model of consistency during his time at N17. Johan Lang, once again with Johan Lang, he's saying that securing Pedro's future was an important priority for us this summer. During that past 3.5 years, he has made huge progress to become one of the best fullbacks in the game, and the fact he is about to play in the World Cup for Spain is a testament to that. Pedro is at an age where he can provide leadership and experience while still having room for further development. His character, work ethic and quality are exactly what we look for when building a squad capable of competing at the highest level, and we are delighted that he has chosen to continue his journey with the club. And De Zerbi has said that Pedro is a very important player for us, who has consistently shown his ability to influence matches in both defensive and attacking situations, as well as his technical quality. I also love his mentality. Every day he wants to work, to learn and to improve, and these are characteristics that help players reach the highest level. He understands football in a very intelligent way and brings energy, intensity and personality to the team. This new contract is good news for everyone at the club. We believe in Pedro, and I am excited to continue working with him and helping him achieve much more in the coming years. And then just goes on to speak about what he's done prior to today. But, you know, big words there from Roberto De Zerbi, Johan Lang as well. And, yeah, I mean, there's not much to add on what they said, to be honest. I think they put it perfectly. But, you know, we're all worried in the last couple of weeks that he could have gone to Real Madrid. They've just signed Cucurella. They've signed Denzel Dumfries, so that was never happening. And then you thought maybe Man City, Atletico Madrid, this, that. But we can put all that to rest now. He's signed a new long-term contract and he's here to stay.
Yeah, I think when you talk about that interest that over the last few weeks that has been accumulating with City and Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, I think it makes complete sense why they'd be interested in him. However, while I'll tell you, the cynical part of me thinks the fact that this long-term contract has been done so quickly after this interest has been made public makes me think, was this interest put out there to try and get him a better deal for his contract? And now Tottenham panicked. I think he deserves it. I think he should be one of our highest paid players because I think he's unbelievable. He's a phenomenal right back and one of the best in the league, in my opinion. But the cynical part of me thinks, did Porro's camp put that kind of news out there to try and get Tottenham to pay what he wants? Because maybe they were, you know, limiting him at a certain place. He was like, look, I should be on, you know, I should be one of the highest earners. And Tottenham were like, look, we'll give you 150, and maybe he's pushing for 200. And now with that interest, they're like, okay, maybe we should just give him what he wants. And that's the kind of the cynical part of me. However, I am delighted. I think having a player as good as Porro committing his best years now to the club, considering he's already been here for 3.5 years, is phenomenal for Tottenham's point of view. I think considering as well, Van der Ven, his mindset seems to be changing. The fact that Porro is leading the way in that is great. I think for me, Porro's always been one of the ones in the dressing room who's really cared. I think you can really see that. I know some people call him a passion merchant. Some people say maybe too performative, spends too much time on the floor, all this kind of stuff. But I see a player who does really care. I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. And I really think when the team is functioning, usually you see a very good Pedro Porro. You see him using all his qualities. And I think De Zerbi already in his 7 games we've seen a different Porro than we saw most of last season in those 7 games. And I think De Zerbi knows exactly how to get the best out of him. I'm really excited to see how he's going to develop under the new manager. And the fact that we're out of Europe, and as we've said, you know, there are other clubs interested. I wouldn't have blamed Porro if he would have sought a different path, considering how Tottenham have been and the interest in him. So the fact that he's committed to us really shows that his belief in De Zerbi, I think, most and foremost, and also his love for the club.
Yeah, and I think that goes for him and Mickey van der Ven. We heard from FZY a few weeks back, I think when the season just finished, that the club are in negotiation with Pedro Porro and Mickey van der Ven. Both look likely to sign. Since then, we heard all these rumours about these different clubs, and you're thinking, maybe it's not going to happen. But now Pedro signed. Hopefully next is Mickey.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, great signing in terms of the future for Pedro Porro. I'm delighted with it. Let's talk about potential signings that Spurs could make. Fabrizio Romano did say yesterday, he says, what I can tell you, Tottenham want to do something important in midfield. They are working on that position and they'll be busy with several other things in the next few weeks of the window. So keep your seatbelt on, because it could get into a bit of a bumpy ride.
So that's what I said as well. We're going for a very big midfielder. He's been very consistent on that.
Yeah, exactly. And a big midfielder has been linked to Spurs as of today, and he goes by the name of Ayoub Bouaddi. Starred in Morocco's draw against Brazil yesterday. I don't know if he got man of the match or not, but he should have got it, if anyone. I mean, he controlled that midfield of Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes. I thought he was fantastic. He was a player, I picked him for my breakout star of the tournament, and that's already looking like a good bet, to be fair. But Santi Auna has said that Liverpool executives made the trip to New York's MetLife Stadium just to watch Ayoub Bouaddi play. The Reds have added him to their shortlist, just like Lamine Camara and others. Several clubs are closely following the Moroccan's progress: PSG, Arsenal, Tottenham, and many more. So, this guy is destined for the top, isn't he? And I think that he had a fantastic season for Lille in the French league. And now you're looking at pretty much any club under the sun looking to take his services. I don't know if it's probably going to be a stretch too far for us, isn't it?
Considering if you're talking about Arsenal, PSG, Liverpool, albeit, we say that, so if it depends on how he sees his career. Look, the kid is 18. He's still very young. He's got a lot of his career ahead of him. If he goes PSG, he ain't getting ahead of Vitinha and João Neves right now. If he goes to Arsenal, he ain't getting in ahead of Declan Rice or, I don't know, Zubimendi or whoever. He's going to find it very, very tough to get game time. Whereas at Tottenham, he comes in. I understand that, he might not be the only midfielder to come in, but I think he comes in as someone who starts immediately. I think that's what we got to sell to him, if obviously that's what we want to do. Now, obviously, the big question marks is he is 18. So if we want a more senior central midfielder coming in, someone who's maybe been doing it for many years in the Premier League, and someone maybe physically we know is up to it in the Premier League. Obviously, those question marks we have to see about Bouaddi. But I have to tell you, I was watching that game against Brazil, and he was phenomenal. He is clearly such a high technical operator. His close control, brilliant, unbelievable dribbler, ball carrier. I think what I would say is his passing. He seemed, wouldn't say he's a bad passer. He just seemed to play it safe a lot. He wasn't very adventurous with his passing, so maybe that's something he's got to work on. But I loved watching him play. He's really exciting to watch when he's on the ball. And Brazil, they had to take Casemiro off at half time because he was running rings around him. Casemiro couldn't handle him.
From a booking as well.
And they were slicing him open. Now in midfield is where they're winning the game, Morocco, in that first half, and a lot of it was down to him. So obviously, if he keeps playing like that at the World Cup, everyone's going to be looking at him, and then it's going to pique everyone's interest already. There's a lot of talk. So, yeah, I don't know if he should be our main midfielder signing, but what I would say is he looks like a real exciting talent. And from what I've seen, he's surely destined to be a top midfielder for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And to do that at such a young age, the age of 18, I thought he just played with so much maturity as well. 18 to run a midfield like that against a top midfielder as well, Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes. Mm-hmm. And, we talk about the physicality, but I thought physically he looked to match them, completely. And these are seasoned pros, Premier League players as well. So I was so impressed with what I saw yesterday with Bouaddi. I don't think he's going to end up coming to Spurs, though. That's the unfortunate thing. I think he's, Arsenal. I've seen a couple of reports about Arsenal heavily linked with him. And obviously Liverpool have sent scouts there to watch him directly. So, look, we'll see what happens. But he is a name that has been linked to Spurs in the past 24 hours. And the last name that has been linked is Igor Thiago, a player that was also playing in that game.
Didn't look as impressive.
No, he did not look as impressive. A lot of memes going around about Igor Thiago yesterday, which is not great. But Paul O'Keefe says that Tottenham have interest in Igor Thiago at Brentford. However, it would be a difficult deal and Richarlison would need to leave. Would you like to see him at Spurs?
I mean, I know he had a brilliant season, but and maybe it's just I've got my Brazil-Morocco goggles on and just judging him by how poor he was. But there are some question marks on him because if you just look, if you go back at last season, look at his goal catalogue for Brentford. 50 to 60% of those goals are Brentford getting the ball from defence and quickly playing it in behind to Thiago on a counter attack and him running from goal and getting a goal or a penalty as well. So it's tough to say whether if he joins a De Zerbi team who are more possession-based and oppositions are sitting back, whether he's going to be anywhere near as effective. I don't think he's an elite finisher. I do think he's a good finisher. And I think Brentford did very well to get him in positions where his finishes don't have to be too difficult. So I think, I think he's clearly a good player. And I think maybe if you play to his strengths, clearly he can score goals. He's proven that now. But whether he's the right striker for us, I'm just mixed on it. I don't know for sure. I think he would obviously come in and be the best finisher of the club, but probably the best striker at the club. But I think what he does compared to what Solanke does compared to him, I think it's just two slightly different things. I don't know if he can do what Solanke does as well as Solanke does it. But obviously, strikers are there to score goals and he gets them. So that's the truth. I'm just mixed on whether he's the right profile fit. That's the thing.
When you're looking at the two names that have been linked with us in the past 5 days or whatever, him and Guirassy, I know Igor Thiago is obviously the better candidate because of the age in terms of 24 and Guirassy's 30, but in terms of profile and stylistically, Guirassy is the player I would want at the club. And I think there would be much different in price as well. I think Igor Thiago, Brentford are going to charge a pretty penny because of what he did for them last season. Guirassy, I think you can get a pretty decent price. So I would go for Guirassy any day of the week over Igor Thiago.
I'm actually a lot more open on Guirassy now. I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the striker market, it is very scarce. There aren't many obvious candidates. The striker market isn't brilliant. So even if you got Guirassy, and I know he's 29, or is he 30 now? I know he's not young. I get that. But even if you got him for a couple of years, and then I'm pretty confident he would score a good amount of goals at Tottenham, and he could be a good striker for us. And then you kind of give yourself some time to actually look for the real long-term solution in that position, and that might not come to fruition in the next year or two. But in that time, you have Guirassy kind of keeping things ticking over and getting you goals in the meantime. So I wouldn't be against just like a short-term option for the time being, as we await for more striker options to kind of show themselves. Because right now, the striker market is pretty barren.
Yeah, I completely agree. So if it was up to me, I'll definitely go for Guirassy over Igor Thiago.
I mean, you look at this Premier League, who are the top goal scorers? Apart from, you go Thiago and Haaland, then it's like Calvert-Lewin, Welbeck. Like, that's where the striker market is at the moment. Like, those are the top goal scorers in the Premier League.
I feel like Igor Thiago is a flop waiting to happen.
I'm mixed on him. I am mixed on him. I'm very mixed on Igor Thiago. So
he scored a lot of goals in the last season, but it's just one season at the end of the day. He's got to back it up before he gets that big price tag, in my opinion.
I think as well, Brentford play in a very specific way.
Yeah.
And I think he suits that. And, how goals, he's like, even on the halfway line, exploiting high lines. But we're not going to be playing again. Like, people know how De Zerbi plays, and we're not going to be facing too many high lines, I think, next season. So I think doesn't mean Thiago can't do it. I'm just saying, I watched him yesterday and he was awful. And it was against a team who, I'm not saying they were pragmatic, but he weren't giving him that much space. And it just got me thinking, I don't know if he's that kind of striker. We'll have to wait and see.
And I felt as well, like in the second half of the season, he was nowhere near as good as, or maybe in the last few months of the season, he was nowhere near as good as he was in the first. And I felt like he burnt out quite quickly in the season. But anyway, let's see what happens. Paul O'Keefe claiming there is an interest there for Spurs and Igor Thiago. Let us know your thoughts on Porro, on Bouaddi, on Igor Thiago in the comments section below. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.